Hello, I'm Mimi, and today I have a super simple and super cute tutorial for you to show you how you can upcycle some empty jars into really adorable holders for your art supplies. I've created 3 designs to be cut from vinyl and applied to the jars, and I'll be sharing those designs with you so that you can make the exact same project, or you could also make your own designs and follow the same process. I want to say a big thank you to Cricut for collaborating with me on this video and supplying me with a lovely Cricut Explore Air 2 to make this project with. Like most arty people, I've wanted a Cricut from the moment I heard about them because they're a dream cutting machine for crafters, and now I finally have one to play with, so let's see what it can do. So to make this project, first you'll need to collect yourself some clean jars. Mine are roughly 23 centimeters in circumference and 8 to 9 centimeters high for the design area, but the measurements don't have to be exact because we're not going for perfection here. You'll also need some adhesive vinyl in various colors. I'm using white, yellow, pink and green Cricut premium vinyl for this project, but you could choose your own as well. A Cricut Explore Air 2 or a similar model Cricut, some transfer tape, something to access the Cricut design space on like a computer or tablet, and a Cricut mat and some basic tools like scissors or anything you like to use for weeding vinyl. If you aren't fortunate enough to have a Cricut of your own yet, you could technically cut the vinyl by hand to apply in a similar design, but oh my goodness, it is so much easier and more accurate with a Cricut, which is just perfect for cutting little designs like this. So first we need to access the Cricut design space, which is a really handy software for finding thousands of projects that are ready to cut, including mine, which you can find via my Cricut profile, and I'll also leave the direct link to them in the description below. The software is actually really easy to use, visual and intuitive, and I really like that you can make your own designs and upload them to be cut by the Cricut as well, which is amazing for small art businesses making their own products to sell. So once you've found my project, you can click on it, and if you want to print it at the same size I have, you can simply click on Make It and it will take you straight to the cutting stage. Or if you want to resize it for your jars, you can click on Customize. This will take you to the canvas in Design Space, and you can resize by selecting everything by dragging a box around all the elements, and up the top here you can change the dimensions of the artwork. My design wraps around half of a jar, so we'll measure the full circumference of the jar we're using and half that to get the width we want the design to cut at. Once the measurements are about right, hit the Make It button and it will break the design down into the different colors to show you how many different mats we'll need to prepare and cut. I really like that the design space will tell you what to do step by step, so it's really easy to follow. And since we have 2 colors of vinyl to cut, it's telling us that first it needs a mat with white vinyl for the little flower details. Because I'm going to apply these little details by hand, I don't need them welded to a particular position, so you'll see it's just going to cut these little elements side by side. I'm going to get my white vinyl. I'm using Cricut Permanent Premium Vinyl, and I'll cut out the size I need, which I can see on the image of the mat here on my screen. I use centimeters, but you can also set it to use inches, and the mats are actually in a grid of inches already, and so is the back of the Cricut vinyl, so I actually just find it easiest to measure visually using the squares. A square on the back of the vinyl is 1/2 inch, so I'll measure enough of those that I end up with a piece of vinyl 2 inches across and 1 inch down. It doesn't need to be super accurate, it just needs to be big enough to cover all of the elements on the mat. I'm using a light grip mat here because it doesn't need to be too tacky for vinyl. Now I'll take my mat, make sure I remove the clear plastic protector on the front, and stick down my piece of vinyl in the top left of the grid to line up with where the design will be cut, which you can reference on the design space. Cricut mats are sticky, so they'll hold the material while it's being cut. Let's click on Continue in the design space, and it'll search for your connected Cricut and then tell us what to do next. So now our Cricut wants to know what material we're using because that'll determine how deep it cuts. On the Explore Air 2, I can do that by turning this handy dial, and since I'm using a premium vinyl, I'll use the Vinyl Plus setting just because I personally find that to be a good depth for the material I'm using. Pop the mat with the vinyl on it into the Cricut via the little mat guides at the side here. Then click the load unload button on the Cricut itself and it'll slurp up the mat into the position it wants it to begin cutting. So once it's ready, it'll prompt us to press the Cricut go button and then it'll begin cutting. This is hands down one of the most satisfying parts of having a Cricut, is watching it cut something out, and I'm also always really impressed with how small it can cut my vinyl. When it's finished, it'll prompt you to press the unload button on the Cricut and it will release the mat back to you. Let's peel off the vinyl sheet from the mat and we can see that it's cut through the vinyl but not through the backing, which is what we want for this project. Now we can prep the mat with the next color we want cut. I'm going to use a pink vinyl for the rest of the design, which is for flowers and sparkly bits. So again, I'll use this very handy reference on the design space to see how big my vinyl needs to be. And this one needs to be about 4 inches by 5 inches. And remember that 2 of these little squares on the vinyl backing is 1 inch, so I'll just roughly measure by those, making sure that I'm on the generous side with the material. By the way, for this part of the design, I've set up the project so that all of the elements are welded into this position, which is why they're spaced apart like this. So basically this placement is exactly how they'll be cut and how they'll look in our finished project. Again, I'll place the vinyl in the top left of the grid, which is where my design will be cut, making sure it covers the space needed by all of my elements, and I can reference this from the mat on the design space. Once the mat is ready, pop it into the Cricut and press the load unload button. It only takes a second and then it will prompt us to press the Cricut button, which will start the cut. It'll give us the cutting progress on the design space as a percentage so we know how far through it is. But honestly, even though it's really quick, I wouldn't mind if it took longer because I could watch it cutting all day. When it's finished, we can unload the mat, I'll peel off the vinyl, and now we have both of the vinyl colors that we need cut out and ready to go. So because vinyl is basically a big plastic sticker, we had the Cricut cut through the vinyl but not the backing, because then we can use it like a sticker sheet and maintain the backing for as long as we need it. So for the first step for applying vinyl when you want all of the elements to maintain their position like we do with these flowers, is to remove all of the vinyl that we don't want in our final design, leaving just the parts on the backing that we do want. Peel back from the corner of your vinyl sheet slowly, and I find it helps to pull it away sideways close to the desk rather than straight up for best results. You might find that a few of the elements want to come away with the vinyl you're pulling off, especially with really small designs like these little dots, so just be careful as you go to make sure all of the bits that you want to stay are stuck to the backing still. Now let's do the same for the white vinyl with the little flower details. The next step in applying our vinyl onto our jar in this exact placement is to transfer the design onto another sticker to keep it all in order so we kind of end up with a sticker sandwich. Let's get our transfer tape, which is nice and clear so we can see what we're doing with it. And we'll cut out a piece that's about the same size as our vinyl sheet, making sure that it's going to cover all of the elements. Peel off the back of the transfer tape and carefully apply it to the top of the vinyl sheet and smooth it down over all of the elements to make sure they're stuck to the transfer tape. I'll use a scraper to make sure they're really adhered to the tape. Let's now grab our lucky jar destined to be decorated, and very carefully we're going to peel off the vinyl backing so that we're just left with the pink vinyl design and the transfer tape. I find this easier to do upside down and peeling the backing off at a really tight angle, and I often leave a bit of the backing so that I'm not tackling the whole sticker all at once, but you don't have to do that, do whatever works well for you. Line up the design with how you want it to be on the jar, and starting with one side and pulling the transfer tape quite tight, apply the whole vinyl and tape combo around the jar, and push down on all the vinyl shapes to make sure they're stuck to the jar smoothly. It's not a big deal if you have a few creases in the transfer tape in this project. We're dealing with a round, bumpy surface, and those creases don't impact our final design as long as it isn't the actual vinyl that's creased. So we can carefully peel off the transfer tape now that it's done its job, and again, just be mindful that all of the vinyl elements are sticking to the jar and not being pulled off by the tape. And there we have our first layer of vinyl flowers and sparkle shapes applied to our jar. The white vinyl details that are next are a bit small and fiddly, so I'm going to use some tweezers to help, but the actual application is way simpler because they're just the details for our flowers, so the exact placement doesn't matter and we can just place them one by one. Pull each shape from the backing and place it on a flower, and that's all we need to do for our details. So we've now got a jar half covered in this cute flower design. You could totally leave it like that, but I'm going to repeat the exact same process on the other side of the jar so that it wraps all the way around. For a quick recap on the steps here, I'm going to open my project on Cricut Design Space, resize the artwork if needed, cut out the first layer of vinyl as shown on the Cricut Design Space, cut out the second layer of vinyl as shown on the Cricut Design Space, remove unnecessary vinyl, cut my transfer tape to size and stick on top of the weeded vinyl sheet, remove the vinyl backing, apply the vinyl to a clean jar, remove transfer tape carefully, apply second layer of vinyl as stickers on top, and it's done. I've made 2 other designs that use the exact same process, so you can make them all or mix and match which ones look cutest on your desk, and try using different colors of vinyl if you want to. I think they make super cute holders for art supplies that are a really sweet addition to my desk. Again, I want to say a big thank you to Cricut for collaborating with me on this video. It's been such a joy to make my own project to share with you, and I hope you enjoyed it too. It really is a dream machine for small art businesses because it cuts tons of different materials and is perfect for making your own products like sticker sheets, your own vinyl jars, or maybe some cute keychains. I love how easy it is to customize things with it, and it really makes me think about how I can make physical products so easily with a tool like this. Let me know in the comments below which design is your favorite. I think mine is the one with the daisies, and thanks so much for watching. Bye bye!